The middle rounds is usually where most of the money is made. Today, we're breaking down 5 of my must-draft breakout candidates, mid-round values, whatever you want to call them. As we did in the sleepers and bust videos, we're going to take a look at the anatomy of the best picks in the mid-rounds and use that to formulate our list. So if you guys enjoy at any point, you know what to do. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Now let's get into it. All right, so we're going to put on our super sleuth hats here. We're going to go from 2020 to 2022 and look at the top 20 players in best ball win rate with an ADP from 36 to 96. So between rounds 4 and 8, anybody going before that would be considered like an early round player, not a breakout candidate in the first 3 rounds. Anybody going after that is more of like a sleeper or like a deeper breakout candidate. So we're looking at basically mid-round players that achieved a high win rate, and we're going to kind of categorize them and use their clues that they gave us as something that we can take into this year's ADP and determine who kind of fits the bill for their kind of paths this year. So as you guys can see on the screen, you'll notice right away that most of them are wide receivers. 15 out of the 20 names here are wide receivers, and that is mainly due to the fact that this area is known as the RB dead zone, right? From picks rounds 4 to 8, typically from rounds 4 to 6, 4 to 7 particularly, the running back hit rate is very low. Only 2 out of the 5 running backs the last 3 years have smashed from this area of the draft. That was Josh Jacobs last year and David Montgomery in 2020. Both guys finished as like top 6 running backs. Traditionally, the running back hit rate is not very high here, which is just a separate point, but I will say the wide receiver position is very fruitful. So I labeled these players one of 3 categories. Players with the label 1 to 3 that you guys can see on the screen there is made up of young players. 10 out of the 20 total players were either in their first year, their second year, or their third year. Of course, guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown, second-year player last year. Devontae Smith, second-year player. Jalen Waddle, second-year player. Jamar Chase, 2 years ago. Rookie year are the types of stud players that you want to gamble on in the mid-rounds. When they're going this high, there's a good chance that they have a good outlook, and there's a reason why they're going in the 40s or in the 50s of ADP as just a rookie or just a second-year player or just a third-year player. Usually these guys end up hitting big when they do hit, so they're definitely the type of guys that we want to pay attention to. Number 2 is players with the label C. So I labeled these running backs. A lot of the similarities I wasn't able to find, except for this. 4 out of the 5 players in this sample at running back, like I said, there was only 5 running backs total, other than David Montgomery, who was a second-year running back playing in like a bad offense, were guys in their contract year with pretty good outlooks. Miles Sanders was in a contract year last year playing behind an elite offensive line for an offense that obviously ascended to a top 2 unit, and that's how he was able to get a huge win rate. Josh Jacobs got fed volume. Devontae Adams was added to the offense to make the offense more, complete and more on schedule. Pollard had a washed-up Ezekiel Elliott in front of him. So from a volume perspective, he was the best bet so far at that point in his career. And then Leonard Fournette in 2021 had a great finish to the Bucs Super Bowl run. Of course, playoff Lenny was the whole jargon there, and that led to his receiving role increasing and eventually him taking over the backfield for a top 5 offense, top 10 offense, and finishing as a high-end running back, even going outside of, the 7th, 8th round where he was going in drafts in 2021. So running backs in contract years, definitely something to pay attention to in this area of the draft. And then number 3 archetype was players with the label target share. So I labeled them TS. The remaining players were all wide receivers, and many of them achieved their high finish due to high target shares. Cooper Kupp, of course, in 2021, 30+% target share. Stephon Diggs, when he went over to Buffalo, high target share, etc. Everybody with the label TS had over a 25% target share, except for Will Fuller in 2020. But Deshaun Watson played out of his mind in 2020, and Will Fuller was the only remaining weapon there because DeAndre Hopkins was traded to the Arizona Cardinals. So generally speaking, these guys didn't have a whole lot in common outside of the fact that they were high target share wide receivers and or played in really good offenses. So with the 5 breakout candidates that I'm going to break down, we're either looking for players that are in year 1 to 3, particularly at wide receiver, contract year running backs, or maybe young running backs that are ascending, or high target share alpha wide receivers kind of just going in the mid rounds for one reason or another. So the first guy that fits this description that stood out to me immediately is Drake London. Wide receiver 22, 43 overall. We talked a ton about Drake London's rookie season throughout the dynasty landscape and through a dynasty lens, but it also does bode well for him from his redraft outlook as well, because this guy was barely 21 years old last year with top 10 draft capital. He posted a near 30% target share as a rookie and 32.4% targets per route run. For reference, only Odell Beckham Jr. has ever posted better rookie year target earning numbers than what Drake London posted last year. And now I know what you're thinking. I'm sure somebody's going to comment it down below. Why would I draft Drake London? The Falcons are not going to throw the ball. They didn't throw last year. Kyle Pitts was injured towards the end of the year, and you'd be correct. All that stuff is true, but what I will say about the Falcons offense is their historically low pass volume is not repeatable, even if they're one of the lowest pass attempt offenses in the NFL next year. With Marcus Mariota at quarterback last year, the Falcons' pace attempts was 369, which is the third lowest mark since the mid-1980s. So we're talking about historically low pass volume. Desmond Ridder coming in, who is a rookie quarterback, mind you, threw the ball a lot more than Marcus Mariota. His pace attempts were 460, which still would have ranked 30th in the NFL last year, so it was still a run-heavy offense, but it was not historically low. We're not asking for a lot here. That was an increase of almost 100 attempts, and it's still ranked 30th in the NFL. Drake London splits with Desmond Ridder at quarterback. He was averaging nearly 9 targets per game, 15 or so PPR points per game, and even though he didn't score a touchdown, he was still very, very productive from a reception standpoint. Just don't be historically low is basically all we're asking out of Arthur Smith and the Falcons offense. I'm not drafting Drake London expecting the Falcons to throw the ball over the yard. I expect them to be among the league low in pass attempts, but they play in a bad division with bad defenses. The addition of Bijan Robinson should take their offense to the next level from a scoring opportunity standpoint, which could mean more red zone opportunities for everyone, and this applies also to Kyle Pitts as well. I think they're the best team in the NFC South, and I don't even think it's particularly close in my opinion, especially on offense. I think they're clearly the best offense in the NFC South. So I think Drake London is definitely worthwhile at his like mid 4th round ADP on Underdog, and I guarantee in home leagues he's going to be a 5th, 6th, 7th round pick, and you should snatch up that volume all day, every day. So number 2 on this list is Marquise Brown, who's wide receiver 31, 61st overall. He is the classic high target share in the mid-rounds guy that I absolutely love. 24% target share over the full season last year, almost a 26% target share in games without DeAndre Hopkins on the field. I've been long vocal in saying that I don't think Kyler Murray is going to miss very many games. He is not going to sit out the whole season just because the Cardinals want to tank. That's not how NFL players think. He's a competitor. He's won at every level. He's a Heisman Trophy winner. He's not going to just sit out and let his team lose games. Dr. Edwin Porras said that he'd be shocked if Kyler Murray was not on the field by October, early October, from a medical perspective. And big whoop. I mean, we get Colt McCoy for what, 4, 5, 6 games maximum? Colt McCoy threw 132 passes last year, 51% of which went to either DeAndre Hopkins or Marquise Brown. He threw 68 of his 132 pass attempts to those 2 alpha wide receivers, and Hollywood is the only alpha in this offense right now. They'll be playing from behind a lot, especially until Murray is back, and even after Kyler Murray's back, because they're not going to be a good team. This is lining up to be a hidden gem on a bad offense, in my opinion. It's going to be a lot of pass attempts, a lot of targets, a lot of opportunity, and I think Marquise Brown is the type of guy that could still finish as a top 15 wide receiver despite playing for a bad team. And once Kyler Murray comes back, the offense could be a lot better. So I really do like Marquise Brown in the mid-rounds this year. Before we get into the remaining 3 breakouts of this video, I want to take a few moments to tell you about Aura, who is the sponsor of today's video. Nowadays, anybody can find anything on the internet, and it's really unfortunate, but it's absolutely true. If you don't believe me, try Googling your name and see what comes up. You'll be shocked at how much of your information is out there. Could be your name, your email address, your relatives, your home address. All that stuff might be out there, and it definitely is an invasion of privacy. And this information is accessible because of data brokers who profit by selling your information to robocallers, to telemarketers, to advertisers, spammers, anybody who wants to learn more about you. I'm sure you guys have received spam texts, spam calls, spam emails in the past. It's incredibly frustrating, and Aura is one of the best solutions for it. They will identify data brokers that are exposing your information and automatically submit opt-out requests on your behalf, and you can use my link aura.com/fantasy stock exchange to try 2 weeks for free and see how many data brokers are sharing your information. Also link down below in the description in the first comment, or you can scan the QR code that you see on your screen. But that is just one of Aura's features, just one of the things that they can do for you. They also feature a VPN for safe internet browsing, password manager, real-time credit and identity theft monitoring, including 24-hour US-based call centers, internet parental controls, and they protect your devices from malware. They have every internet safety tool that you will ever need all inside one app, all inside one subscription. 33% of all Americans have been a victim to identity theft at some point in their lives. It's an issue that's never more prevalent than it is nowadays in the digital age. Aura also monitors your emails. It also monitors your passwords to see if they were involved in any kind of data breaches exposed on the dark web, and it gives you recommendations on what to do and which passwords to change. A lot of people out there use one password for everything or a couple passwords for everything. If those get breached, it could definitely become a huge problem for you, and Aura is really easy to set up. It has everything you need. You do not have to download 7 different apps to stay protected. Total protection on the internet is available at one affordable price. Let Aura do the hard work of keeping you safe online. If you sign up right now, Aura will give you a 2-week free trial using my link. Like I said, go to the link in the description, in the pinned comment, or scan the QR code that you see on your screen. Now let's get back to the video. Number 3 breakout candidate, mid-round value, whatever you want to call it, is J.K. Dobbins, running back of the Baltimore Ravens. Running back 18 right now on Underdog, 57th overall ADP. He obviously fits the bill for the contract year narrative because he is in his contract year as a second-round pick in 2020. I also still consider him a year 1 to 3 type of breakout because his prime was absolutely robbed by his ACL tear. Entering his second season, he suffered a compact multi-ligament ACL tear, and it basically held him out most of last year as well. So those 2 years kind of got cooked, and it sucks because I do think we probably would have seen a guy finish as an RB1 as a second-year running back, maybe even a top 5 guy in his third season. Now we have a guy that we have to piece together a case for. We have to take numbers from his rookie year, from the end of last year, from the playoffs, whatever. But the first thing that I always get back to with J.K. Dobbins is it starts how good this guy actually is. 4.3 speed coming out of school, highly decorated prospect, a ridiculous 5.9 career yards per touch that leads the NFL since 2020 among running backs with over 250 touches. Everybody is so focused on how he can't be the RB1 overall, and that's absolutely true because he doesn't have that type of ceiling because Lamar Jackson's going to take away carries. Lamar Jackson is probably not going to throw to his running backs at a super high rate, and Gus Edwards is also a capable running back who could steal some work on the goal line or on early downs or in the receiving game, but we saw a 30-year-old Mark Ingram finish as the RB9 in 2019 in this offense on just 228 touches and only 29 targets because he was so efficient. The Ravens run their running backs in the red zone. They do not run Lamar Jackson in the red zone. And the surrounding weapons around Lamar Jackson to keep this offense on schedule are the best of his career. Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman in his third year, Odell Beckham coming in to mentor these young wide receivers, and of course Mark Andrews and J.K. Dobbins to help move the offense at those positions. Just give me pieces of this offense. I think it's going to be really good this year. I think they can be a top 5, top 10 scoring offense. And Dobbins, even on only 240, 250 touches, can go for almost 1,500 total yards, 10-plus touchdowns, and be a mid RB1 at his high-end range of outcomes, in my opinion. He has talked about potentially holding out. I don't think that's going to end up lasting. And we've also heard buzz that they want to get their backs more involved in the receiving game. And I promise you, J.K. Dobbins is a good enough receiver to have a 50 reception season. I don't think it's likely because of Lamar Jackson's tendencies, but it is possible that he has a lot more receiving upside than he's ever had in his outlook in the past with Todd Monken coming in. So definitely really love J.K. Dobbins. Number 4 is Jordan Addison. Jordan Addison I've talked about at nauseum, so I'll keep this one brief. Wide receiver 37, 72 overall on Underdog right now. You've heard me break down his separation ability if you guys are avid listeners of the channel. He and JSN were the 2 most pro-ready receivers in this draft, and both of them profiled to be very good number 2s, 1Bs in their offense, similar to what we've seen in Miami with Jalen Waddle, with Philadelphia with Devontae Smith, and Cincinnati with T. Higgins. Those guys can be that role to their opposing number 1 wide receiver. In Justin Jefferson with Jordan Addison there. Adam Thielen ran 600 routes on the season last year. He was one of only 5 wide receivers to run over 600 routes, and another one of those 5 receivers was Justin Jefferson, who is his teammate. The Vikings offense showed with Kevin O'Connell that they want to throw the ball. They ranked 3rd in total pass attempts last year with 672, nearly 700 pass attempts for this offense, 5th in pace of play, 3rd in the NFL with a 64% pass rate, and they just cut their starting running back in Dalvin Cook. You couldn't have asked for a better situation for Jordan Addison. He is never, ever, ever going to be the focus of defenses. Justin Jefferson will command the number 1 corner, will probably command safety help on top of that, and Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson get to feast off of number 2 and number 3 corners over the slot, whatever. And Jordan Addison's Biletnikoff season at Pittsburgh back in his sophomore year came when he was playing 70% of his snaps out of the slot. So he has the flexibility to play inside and outside. Getting Addison as the wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5 for your team in the 6th, 7th round where he's currently going is the perfect upside / flex swing. It's exactly what Chris Olave represented last year, except in a much better offense that throws the ball much, much more. And, of course, Justin Jefferson being the guy that's going to keep this offense on schedule, keep it moving, and keep up the red zone opportunities. And Jordan Addison was very good in the red zone and on design plays. He is somebody that I'm drafting a ton of on Underdog. Of course, if you want to get some exposure, head on over to Underdog and use the promo code FSE for 100% back up to $100. Number 5, final breakout candidate of this video is Terry McLaurin, wide receiver 23, 44th overall. Could have very easily talked about his teammate, Jahan Dotson, who's a second-year wide receiver. And Terry McLaurin, does he really fit the bill for breakout candidate because he's, in his 5th NFL season now? But McLaurin has been productive for a number of years and has never broken the top 20 in points per game in PPR leagues. Despite the high target shares, despite how good of an actual real-life receiver he is, he kind of reminds me a lot of Amari Cooper last year. Productive for multiple years, but found a quarterback willing to target him more, especially now near the red zone, and things broke right for him. I love Jahan Dotson. You guys know I very easily could have mentioned him as a breakout candidate here, but Terry McLaurin is still the number 1 of this team. He still has the target share advantage. Sam Howell heavily targeted his number 1 in college. Josh Downs, 35% target share as a true sophomore. Sam Howell has no problem feeding a number 1 wide receiver. Jacoby Brissett was the catalyst for Amari Cooper's, mini breakout, second breakout of his career with Jacoby Brissett in Cleveland last year. So either quarterback starting is good for Terry McLaurin. Between those two quarterbacks and Eric Bieniemy coming in to be the architect of this offense, to call plays and take this offense out of the absolute sewer 31st ranked pace of play offense that they were last year, up to where the Chiefs, where Eric Bieniemy came from, who've been a top 5 to 10 pace of play offense every year, it could lead to finally getting a top breakout season out of Terry McLaurin. He is a good enough receiver to do it. He just needs better quarterback play, more red zone opportunity, more deep connections down the field. I feel like we say this every year, but I firmly believe that this is the best quarterback play that Terry McLaurin has ever had. Whether Sam Howell takes a step forward and every puff piece that they're saying about him is true, and of course you guys know I was high on Sam Howell as well, or worst case scenario, Sam Howell's not good and Jacoby Brissett plays. He was a top 15 quarterback in the NFL by every metric last year. He is going to be the best quarterback that Terry McLaurin has ever played with, and he knows how to feed his number 1 wide receiver. So if you guys enjoyed this video, if you got some value from it, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new. If you want to support us, of course, check out Aura. Big shout out to them for sponsoring this video. Check out Underdog, promo code FSE for 100% back up to $100. And check out our Dynasty rankings, articles, bonus content, databases, first priority on Dynasty decisions, a free Zoom consultation if you sign up annually over on flockfantasy.com. Use that promo code FSE to get all of those benefits and 30% off any of those packages. But with that being said, peace out, and we'll talk to you soon.